Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Without wasting any more time, Kashmir encounter on for the third day. Another soldier reportedly missing, and we're getting you more details right out of cordoning in Anantnag in the south of Kashmir. But more importantly, that's not all we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the teary-eyed farewell that all the Breavhearts are getting at this point in time, even as we're learning about another soldier that is in fact battling for their life. Of course, corroborated information is something that you'll get here at News9. We don't want to jump the gun, ladies and gentlemen, but at the same time, sources are also telling us that this missing soldier might have succumbed to their injuries. Well, today's broadcast essentially begins on a solemn note because we're turning our attention to the ongoing intense situation that is unfolding in the heart of Kashmir. For the past harrowing 48 plus hours, the region has been gripped by a relentless firefight as our valiant security forces find themselves locked in a fierce battle with terrorists amidst the dense Kokarnag forests. This heart-wrenching confrontation began in the early hours on Wednesday morning when the Indian Army, in a coordinated effort with the Jammu and Kashmir police, initiated a joint operation with the mission to neutralize the looming terrorist threat that lurked within these unforgiving woods and the treacherous topography of the area south of the Panjal. In the course of this intense engagement, 3 officers who exemplified unwavering bravery, and let me tell you, that is not an understatement, and dedication to their duty, tragically lost their lives. Among these gallant souls were 2 courageous individuals from the Indian Army, including Colonel Manpreet Singh, a recipient of the prestigious Sena Medal for the gallantry, who had been leading the search column, and Major Ashish Dhonchak, also a decorated recipient of the Sena Medal, serving as the company commander of the 19th Rashtra Rifles. Additionally, the Jammu and Kashmir Police lost Deputy Superintendent Humayun Bhatt, who was the Deputy Superintendent in the line of duty. Now, these brave officers displayed unparalleled valor as they traversed through the challenging terrains of the forest, navigating through its rugged contours in the mission to secure the safety of the region's residents. But it was around noon when they came under a hail of heavy gunfire from the entrenched terrorists. In a swift and unwavering response, they valiantly retaliated, but not without sustaining grievous gunshot wounds during the fierce encounter. Now, as we pay tribute to these extraordinary souls who made the ultimate sacrifice, we find ourselves at a loss for words to express our gratitude and sorrow simultaneously. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families during this time of unimaginable grief. The battle rages on, ladies and gentlemen. And as the security forces utilize advanced weaponry and cutting-edge technology, including strike-capable Heron drones, in their intensified anti-terror operations, join us in the comment sections as today we delve into the harrowing details of this joint operation, the sacrifices made by our brave officers, and the prevailing situation in South Kashmir. Why is there an uptick in foreign terrorists? That is something that we're going to decode together. Let's honor the memory of Colonel Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish Dhonchak, and DSP Humayun Bhatt, even as we talk about the latest details coming out of South Kashmir and the problem of South Kashmir as well. Joining me here on the broadcast are Yashovardhan Azad, former Special Director, IB, and Major General Ashwini Sivach, Defense and Geopolitical Expert. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Gentlemen, do stay on with us because even as we're, talking about the South Kashmir problem and the encounter that is still continuing for, the third day now, let's quickly go across to Panipat, to Ashish Dhonchak's residence. Let's take a look at what's happening at the Major's residence. We're also learning that Ashish Dhonchak, he was about to go back home. October 23rd, he had made a promise to his parents to go back home for that housewarming. He had promised his mother as well. It's a brand new house, but a little glimpse for the viewers as well. And gentlemen, do watch on. Take a look at that.
जम्मू कश्मीर में आतंकी मुठभेड़ में शहीद हुए मेजर आशीष के पार्थिव शरीर को पानीपत में उनके सपनों के घर में लाया गया। जी हाँ, उनका परिवार ऐसे तो सेक्टर 7 में ही किराए के मकान में रहता था, लेकिन जिस घर में अक्टूबर में यानी अगले महीने आशीष अपने परिवार के साथ शिफ्ट होने वाले थे, उनके ख्वाबों का घर था। बड़ी शिद्दत से सपने संजोकर उन्होंने घर बनाया था। तो परिवार वालों ने उनकी शहादत के बाद भी जो उनकी इच्छा थी उसका ख्याल रखते हुए ये तस्वीरें मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ। ये पानीपत में TDI सिटी है इसी टीडीआई सिटी में आप तस्वीरें देख सकते हैं कि घर के भीतर उनके पार्थिव शरीर को रखा गया है। घर के भीतर और बाहर बड़ी तादाद में लोग उनके अंतिम दर्शन के लिए पहुंचे हैं। परिवार के लिए बेहद दुख का माहौल है, गम का माहौल है, क्योंकि इकलौते बेटे थे अपने परिवार के मेजर आशीष। 3 बहनों के इकलौते भाई थे, 3 साल की एक बेटी है और आप अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से परिवार पे दुखों का पहाड़ टूट पड़ा है। कहाँ तो परिवार इस तैयारी में जुटा था कि अक्टूबर में, चूंकि 23 तारीख को उनका बर्थडे होता है, 23 अक्टूबर को, तो उसी अपने जन्मदिन के मौके पे उन्हें आना था। उन्होंने वादा किया था अपने परिवार वालों से कि 23 अक्टूबर के करीब वो आएंगे और उसी दौरान ये जो आप घर देख रहे हैं जिसे मेजर आशीष ने एक बनवाया था, इसी घर में परिवार को गृह प्रवेश की पूजा होनी थी, उनका जन्मदिन मनाया जाना था और इसी घर में परिवार को शिफ्ट होना था। लेकिन उससे पहले ही वो शहीद हो चुके हैं।
Well, sorry for that abrupt interruption. Of course, we will cut across to that live summit in Karnataka, where the Karnataka summit, the federal play, what News9 is bringing to all its viewers. But coming back to the topic at hand, the Kashmir encounter in Anantnag. I'm going to quickly go across to Mr. Azad, who's with us on the broadcast. Mr. Azad, you saw, how the reporter was talking about unke sapno ka ghar tha. He was living in a rented accommodation for the longest time. And that's not the case just with Major, Dhonchak. It's the same is the case with Colonel Manpreet Singh. He had called up his mother. The last conversation with his mother is where the mother is asking him, "Beta, tu kab wapas aayega?" And the soldier responds by saying, "Ma, tu aaram kar, main aa raha hu." And whilst he is valiantly fighting on the border front. Before we talk about the South Kashmir angle, before we talk about what's happening in the south of Pir Panjal, and Major General Sivach also with us can tell us about the alleged intelligence failure that people are now talking about in the media realm as well. We'll throw light on all those topics, but Mr. Azad, first and foremost, it's not easy to lose a soldier, and I've been saying it time and again that the family members are equally brave in this case. लेकिन किसी को भी ढंग से रोने का भी मौका नहीं मिलता. Lamenting and grieving in itself becomes so harrowing as a process. What's going on inside your mind whilst we're showcasing visuals from Panipat, from what's happening in Mohali, where all the mortal remains are now going back? We saw how the former DIG of Jammu and Kashmir Police, G.H. Bhatt, he laid to rest his own son, who's the deputy superintendent. What's going on inside your mind? How should the public consume this information? Because I can understand everybody is so angry.
You've described it very well. There are no words to describe the exceptional valor of these commanders who led from the front. One's blood boils at this kind of pain which has been inflicted. And I have been witness to when the fallen soldiers come home, the martyrs, who shown exceptional fighting at the front, and have seen the kind of pain, the kind of heartbreaking which is there in the families. And in fact, you're so right. There are no tears even, that they are shell-shocked to have somebody at your prime of your youth to be cut down in your 40s or your 30s. By a militant's bullet, by a murderer's bullet, is something which is very, very difficult to bear. I totally understand. And these parts, the Panipat and these areas where they almost cultivate heroes, who go in the army and come back martyrs, is something which is very, very difficult to bear. I only hope that we give it back in the same coin that we've got, because losing 3 of such officers, they could have waited out. They need not have gone right in the front. But that's why the Indian Army loses more officers, because it's exceptionally, they are led by some such brave men, whether it's Kargil, whether it's always led from the front. I mean, I have no words to describe, Kabir, what I have felt. I think it's been a day of mourning for me since the time I've heard this. So I can
Right.
understand what is happening to the Indian Army and their families.
Absolutely. Major General, quickly to you as well, before we move on, your opinion on the same. And, you've been a serviceman yourself. What's your opinion? What's your suggestion to all the people, all the youngsters that I've been in contact with? They're absolutely, angry. They're frustrated. All these media reports that we're seeking and learning about how the terrorism and the terrorist activities have gone down in Jammu and Kashmir. But then you learn about these three bravehearts losing their lives, possibly, potentially, and God forbid, a fourth one as well. Itna sara gussa youngsters mein. How do you, put balm on that? Your opinion on that, sir?
Yeah, Kabir, no doubt. We should be proud of the sacrifices which have been made by the commanding officer.
Certainly, sir.
Colonel Manpreet, Major Ashish, and also the DSP Himayu Bhatt. Such things do happen in counter-insurgency, in counter-terrorism operation. And remember that they were leading from front. So this is what Indian Army is made of. Unlike a few of the armies of neighbor country, you'll find it Indian Army is led by their officer. And in this case, not led by a young officer only, but also led by a commanding officer. So therefore, I suppose we should also take it as a matter of pride, and the youngsters should feel it. Here is the Indian Army that they lead from front, officer lead from front, and this should be a motivation for everyone. Now, as far as this operation is concerned, what happened is that out of my 40 years of service, I have served most of the time in counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operation, both in Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast. I can only say that in this Kokranag forest is a deep forest and with mountainous terrain as well as a thick cover. Now, what is happening is that in last about 2-3 years, the situation has become very normal in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in Kashmir Valley. And that is not to the liking of Pakistani and Pakistani deep state and ISI. The residual terrorists are somewhere between 60 to 80. And today you find that peace is prevailing. Tourism is a record time. You find a lot of activity which are taking place, which are akin to a peace. Now, this is not liking, and they want to create some problem, especially after a very successful G20 and our Chandrayaan-3 landing in the South Pole of Moon. Now they are trying to change tactics. They changed tactics in between also by doing hybrid warfare, because they were equipped a youngster giving a small weapon like pistol, which is unsuspected. They neutralize the target and join back the society. Now they have further changed their tactics now. 2-3. One is that our counter-infiltration grade is very strong on line of control. You can never say it's a zero infiltration, but yes, it is very robust. Now they have shifted their focus more on Jammu area, Poonch Rajouri, which was a dormant for last 15-20 years. The second thing what they are doing is they are now moving to higher reaches rather than the villages and all, because they are very less left and they are also without too much of weapon ammunition. So Pakistan Army is already directed them move to higher reaches and operate from there. Now this incident which has taken place, the source has given an intelligence that he has made a hideout and it is on the higher reaches, which is very common. It is not something uncommon. I must have busted a number of hideouts during my service. So this intelligence was given by this chap. Possibly he has already sort of compromised the other side. This also can be possible, and therefore by the time this party which was led by the commanding officer reached there, the terrorists were hiding in the hideout and they laid an opportunate ambush, and that is where the casualty is taken.
Okay.
Now since the terrain is very difficult and also mountainous, it was very difficult to evacuate. I have commanded a brigade in Machal, which in Kupwara on the higher reaches. I can only say that if the casualty are evacuated within 1 to 2 hours of their casualty, then it is for 100% sure they will survive in the base hospital. But here the problem occurred was, since the firing was going on, it was very difficult for any helicopter to land and there was a thick foliage. which you could not land any hectare. And at the same time, due to the contact, the firing taking place, it took lot of time to evacuate them from the operation site to the road head, from where you can then evacuate them by ambulance or by any other vehicle. And therefore, that golden hour was lost, and that's how, unfortunately, we lost three brave hearts.
Well, so
That's commanding
something that has been made clear is that the topography was absolutely treacherous. That's why the
Absolutely.
evacuation could not be conducted. But this important pertinent point that you've made over here, Major General, about a potential possibility of the informer compromising the situation. That is something that I want to touch upon. Mr. Azad, would you like to come in here? Because if the operation that was launched to bust a hideout, that information was compromised, you know, people are being so hush-hush about it. They don't want to talk about if there was an intelligence failure, well, because it is going to come into light how there was an intelligence failure. Then people will, try to save their faces. But it's equally important that we talk about it as well. How dangerous is this situation when we're looking at South Kashmir, the sensitivity of its location and the geopolitics around it? Intelligence failure in Kashmir, shouldn't that be a simple plain no-no?
Well, these things happen when you have an ongoing operation of this kind, and when you have so many elements involved. We have a very secure, counter-security grid, there's no doubt about it. But failures like that, compromising on intelligence, it happens. There's no doubt. The more important thing here is, as the Major General has pointed out, that Anantnag is a treacherous area. And, now it's been attributed to TRF and, Sajid the Lame or Langda, who's the head of the LET in this part of the area. I don't know that he himself is there or...
Uzair Khan, that's what we're learning. Uzair Khan is there, a self-styled commander of the resistance force. Yes, you're right.
Exactly. So, they are operating from the Pir Panjal shelters, and Major General knows that area very well. So it is very, very difficult to operate. Suppose you even if you are getting, intelligence in flows, in fact, earlier. So when you get an intelligence of this kind, it's the sheer bravery of these people that they were commanding themselves. There were 3 joint patrols which were going, which were with the J&K police and also with the army. So whether it's a compromise, what do you do? I mean, even if you get to know about it, you have to move ahead with the operation, because if you hear about 2 militants in a particular area, then you have to go ahead. And the question is, in this particular case, yes, they were since right in the front, and they took the bullets. And this is also true that they bled out for a long number of hours. That's the cause of their actual death. So this kind of compromise does take place. I would only say that they could have waited out, right? They could have waited out and done the search and combing operations in a very, very slow manner. But they went ahead and did it. Therefore, I would be just praising their bravery. That sooner or later, of course, these militants will be flushed out. In some cases, like Kulgam and other places, what has happened is they've even gone back. You see, there is a new tactics also. They realize that coming on the social media and making themselves very popular is not helping their cause. So now the latest trick is that you have a very small-based kind of operations. You use the Pir Panjal shelter base, use these small-time criminals and all that, and then get into the act. So this is another thing. The other thing which I want to say is, whether in Naxalism, whether in Kashmir, it is absolutely right that the figures are absolutely low. So you cannot but expect incidents of this kind coming up in sporadic, incidents of this kind. This is happening in Naxalism also. This happens here also. This is to tie down the forces. This is to sort of, give them a kind of a warning. These kind of incidents will never destabilize Kashmir, but of course they will inflict pain and hurt, which we have to bear. And we have to really praise these Breavhearts for going ahead with their role in such a, brazen, brave manner.
You're absolutely right. So it seems like we understand what the challenges are, We know that this is not something that's new. We know that this is not going to instantly, put the entire geopolitical scenario of the valley into an upheaval, state. But how do we challenge this? How do we counter these challenges, Major General? We know that the topography is not really advantageous. We know that evacuation process takes a lot of time. When we know what the challenges are, how soon can we overcome that, and how do you think are some plausible ways that we can overcome these challenges? I mean, we already are learning that the Heron drone is being incorporated, but in a thick foliage that you're talking about in the Garod village, in that Kokarnag forest, maybe the drone might not be utilized as well as it could be in a different area. What are some other ways that we can counter these challenges, sir?
Kabir, the point is that everything is being factored in. There is no doubt, these operations we are not doing first time, and they have been happening there, and everything is factored in the sense the made use of drones is being used. But drones have a limited capability when the foliage is very, very thick. And as far as this operation is concerned, remember it was a joint operation between Rashtra Rifle and Jammu and Kashmir Police. There was a DSP rank officer, a very brave heart there. So there was a coordination. Sometimes such incidents do occur when your source has compromised. Unfortunate, but it can happen. That is our speculation. Why as to how the terrorist was having that much of intelligence about it. But certainly, one thing is very clear, that if we have to counter such things, it is a multi-strategy which is the key word. And the multi-strategy is following. One is that as far as hinterland is that this is a counter-terrorism operation which is going on. As per the strategy, we keep on changing our tactics because the militants are changing it. They have been told, like I said, hybrid warfare was this. Now they are going to higher reaches. As the winter will come, you'll find it. The Pakistanis will try to send them weapons, ammunition also through the drones, as well as they will activate the higher reaches. Now, so our counter-terrorism is very, very robust. We have to improve that. Counter-infiltration grid, I said, on the line of control, ensure there is almost zero infiltration by making law. Now, what is required is to be done more now is that that the problem is not here. The problem is lying in Pakistan. Now, the terrorists which are coming are from there. There are about 10,000 Lashkar-e-Toba jaise Mohammed terrorists sitting in training areas and launch pad in Pakistan, equipped with the modern weapons left by the Americans in Afghanistan. So they need to be targeted, and we have a capability now, especially once the MQ-9 drones will come. Of course, will take time, but after Rafale, which has come, which has a scalp missile, Mica missile, hammer missile, that we should able to target these, the concentration camp or the training camps of the terrorists. Because the Pakistan army does not want the peace to prevail in J&K. They are rattled because in POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan, there is a protest taking place. People want to join India because they feel they are left 75 years behind. There is no pay, people getting no pension, electricity is only for 2-3 hours. The inflation is about 47%. People now realize that they have been told lies by Pakistan, and they want to now join India. In Kargil, which are a Shia population akin to us, is a Gilgit-Baltistan, where people feel that they have been treated like a second-class citizen. The Sunnis are made to settle down ex-servicemen to change the demographic. The voice is coming is that opens Kardu to Kargil route. We want to go to Kargil. So Pakistan is completely rattled, and that's how it wants to create some sort of situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Such incident which has taken place in Kokarnag will increase, you will see, because they are rattled by the peace which is prevailing in Kashmir Valley. Remember that there used to be stone throwing, which is almost zero now, because all the money through Hurriyat was getting through Hawala was being totally choked by NIA, and Hurriyat is a history. Now, what more need to be done is that we have been very successful in bringing an environment which is very peaceful, but radicalization may still has to be handled more, you can say, alertly.
Absolutely. There is work that needs to be done. You're absolutely right. And we're not shying away from it at all. There is work that needs to be done. Yesterday the former DGP, SP Ved was with us on the broadcast, and he said that even if 100% work is complete, we will still continue to do the work, because there is always that work is going to be done on the radicalization front as well. Now, I have some latest information. We're learning, and of course, official confirmation is being awaited. Another, unfortunate news that has come about. Mr. Azad, take a look at this. One injured soldier has succumbed to his injuries during an ongoing encounter in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district. Another security personnel has also been injured. The operations continue as the two Lashkar-e-Toiba militants are hiding in the forest area. Official confirmation is being awaited, but that toll could very well be 4 now. Of course, official confirmation is being awaited, but even as that toll is 4 or not, it's safe to assume that both these soldiers are definitely injured. And like Major General was, telling us, evacuation process, that becomes really difficult, and that golden period, we lose out on those crucial moments, don't we, Mr. Azad?
Yes, they certainly have. The terrorists have the advantage of using the higher reaches of the Kokarnag area, and therefore they're in a more advantageous position. And it's a very, very difficult operation. But the other point which you were asking earlier, see, for Pakistan, even if its economy is in doldrums or its social polity is totally fractured, it's a very low-cost operation for them to send a few people across, and therefore it's very difficult to operate in this terrain, the Peer Panjal, and they are now operating only in the difficult higher reaches of the hills, and therefore the counter-security grid has to be very, very strong at the border. Definitely that will be an ideal situation, but that is difficult. So what I'm saying is that we have to live with this. It's not that it can be wished away. It really cannot. The terrorist count is very low. Things are absolutely, near normal in Kashmir. So such incidents will definitely keep coming. The second point, which is very, very important, is that what do we do about radicalization? That is, prevent any kind of, this kind of a fracturing of the social polity by compromising a few young minds in Kashmir. And that, I think, will only come with more and more of development. We have seen the G20, we have seen so many things happening. So we have to take this on the chin. Such incidents which keep coming, and I'll tell you, in the future years also they will be trying their best to do it, because it means nothing. It's a very, very low cost operation. As far as the problem of drones is concerned, we are having a lot of these problems even on the Punjab border, and the drone problem is there. We have seen even with the foliage in Abuj Marg, which is there in Chhattisgarh area, where we are trying to do the anti-Naxal operations. It will be a problem. Therefore, technology has its limit. And let me tell you, Kabir, that's why I'm referring to a very good piece which has been written by Praveen, that maybe it's time, after all this induction of technology and something, intelligence-based small operations, which the army and the police were doing earlier, maybe it's time to get back to that. Because, a massive movement of this kind in the forests may be a very, very difficult thing to achieve. But small intelligence-based operation would be a good thing. And I think maybe it's time to get back to that. And we must keep continuing with that in Kashmir. In line, of course, with the anti-radicalization efforts and the development affairs which are going on.
The old ways, I'm going to ask you next about how it is different from what is being done in today's time. Maybe it's going to be, some interest to the viewers, how the missions were carried out, just, small basic missions that were carried out on, intelligence. That is something that that is going to be of interest to the viewers. But before we do that, gentlemen, do stay on, because earlier we went to Panipat. This time around, let's quickly go across to Mohali, where the mortal remains of Manpreet Singh's, reached the village, his ancestral place, and the final rites were held. Let's quickly take a look at this report from there as well.
कश्मीर में आतंकियों के साथ मुठभेड़ में शहीद हुए कर्नल मनप्रीत सिंह को आज उनके मोहाली के गांव भड़ौंजिया में अंतिम विदाई दी जाएगी। गांव में जो खेत हैं, जो यहां पर शमशान घाट है, वहां पर पूरी तैयारियां की गई हैं। आप देखिए कर्नल मनप्रीत सिंह की एक तस्वीर यहाँ पर लगाई गई है जिसमें वो वर्दी के साथ दिखाई दे रहे हैं। इसके अलावा यहाँ पर जो शमशान घाट है उसके आसपास जगह को खाली किया जा रहा है क्योंकि कई बड़े वीआईपी यहाँ पर शामिल हो सकते हैं अंतिम संस्कार के कार्यक्रम के दौरान। इसके लिए यहाँ पर व्यापक बंदोबस्त किए गए हैं। गाँव के लोग भी अपने साथी को विदाई देने के लिए तैयार हैं। तलविंदर जी, आप रिश्ते में कज़न लगते हैं, यहाँ इसी गांव में आप विदाई दे रहे हैं, यहीं पे वो पले बड़े, क्या कहेंगे शहादत को लेकर?
सर, शहादत को देखो, मैं पहले भी कह चुका हूँ, हमें इस चीज़ पे गर्व है। दुख तो है कि वो हमारे साथ नहीं है आवाज़, बट एट द सेम टाइम हमें गर्व भी है कि उन्होंने हमारा नाम, हमारे गांव का नाम तो उन्होंने इतना रोशन किया है ना। वो
कह रहे हैं कि उनको वॉर जोन की बजाय किसी शांति वाले इलाके में पोस्टिंग भी मिल रही थी, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा कि मैं अपनी रेजिमेंट के साथ ही रहूँगा।
जी बिल्कुल, उन्होंने फिर 19 RR को ज्वाइन किया इसी चीज़ के लिए, क्योंकि बिकॉज उनका जो जज्बा था देशभक्ति के लिए वो इतना ज़्यादा था। और उनको हम तो एटलीस्ट उनको एनकाउंटर स्पेशलिस्ट कहते थे और मानते भी हैं। तो उन्होंने अपनी मैक्सिमम जो टाइम है वो CI एरिया में उन्होंने गुजारा है, अपना जो सर्विस की है। जो
आप लोग, गांव के लोग कैसे विदाई देने के लिए इकट्ठा हुए हैं? पूरे इंतजाम यहाँ पर किए गए हैं?
हाँ जी, हमारी तरफ से सर पूरे इंतजाम है। हमारे गांव की तरफ से पूरा सहयोग दिया जा रहा है। हम कल से यहाँ पे पूरी तैयारी है हमारी। हमें दुख भी है, बहुत ज़्यादा दुख है, पर हमें गर्व भी महसूस है कि हमारे गांव का इतना नाम ऊंचा करके गया हमारा भाई। यहीं पे खेले इकट्ठे, बहुत टाइम बताया हमने।
क्या आप क्या कहेंगे?
हमें बहुत दुख है, वैसे गर्व भी है कहानी जैसे जिन्होंने बोला, पर एक दुख और भी है, प्रशासन का अधिकारी कोई नहीं यहाँ अभी तक पहुँचा है।
ये तैयारियाँ आप लोग खुद ही कर रहे हैं?
बिल्कुल जी, बिल्कुल, सारा टेंट सारा कुछ हमने खुद किया। ट्रैक्टर ट्राली हमारे लड़कों ने जो आप खुद काम कर रहे हैं। कोई
आप चाहते हैं अपने गाँव के वीर को अच्छे से विदाई दें?
बिल्कुल जी, बिल्कुल अच्छे से विदाई दें। और हम एक और चाहते हैं जी, उसके नाम पर एक हमारे गांव में स्टेडियम बनना चाहिए,
होना चाहिए,
ठीक है जी।
बच्चों को आगे से सीख मिले कोई।
कर्नल
हाँ जी,
मनप्रीत सिंह के नाम पर
तो कर्नल मनप्रीत सिंह के नाम पर स्टेडियम बने, गांव के लोग ये मांग कर रहे हैं और सीधे तौर पे अपने गांव के शहीद को अंतिम विदाई देने के लिए पूरी तरह से तैयार है गांव। यहाँ पर एक तस्वीर लगाई गई है जिसमें वर्दी में मनप्रीत सिंह दिखाई दे रहे हैं और उनको माना जाता था सेना में अपने दमखम के लिए। शांति प्रिय इलाकों में उनको पोस्टिंग का ऑफ़र मिला, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा कि अपनी रेजिमेंट के साथ आतंकवाद से घिरे इलाकों में मौजूद रहेंगे और यहीं पर शहादत के दौरान उन्होंने अपनी जान देश के नाम कुर्बान कर दी। मोहाली के भड़ोंजिया गांव से कैमरामैन वीर सिंह के साथ मोहित मल्होत्रा, TV9 भारतवर्ष।
Well, now did you look at that, gentlemen? Encounter specialist, that's somebody that we've lost. And his relatives go on to say that nobody from the administration or the ruling dispensation has visited them yet. All the arrangements were made by the family members themselves. After the mortal remains left the commanding hospital, it seems like the mortal remains were left to themselves. That is something that I picked up on. And they are also demanding a stadium in the name of Colonel Manpreet Singh. What a great and progressive step as well. Bacche kuch seekhenge is what the relative says. But all I could see were the big residential complexes that were being built right behind them. Stadium ka naamo nishan nahi hai, residential complexes बढ़ रहे हैं, capitalist reflex है वहाँ पर और authorities से कोई essentially उनसे मिलने नहीं आया. Major General, how do you look at this particular development? It's really interesting. You're from the servicemen. There's a lot of expectations from the ruling dispensation as well. Nobody has visited Mohali yet.
Absolutely, Kabir. It is unfortunate. As far as the civil administration is concerned, they should take pride that our officer from our area has sacrificed his life, and everything must be done. And I suppose what I could see it everywhere else, the response has been always very positive. The civil administration all over the country has been very, very positive, and in case the matter remain calm, complete work is taken by the civil administration. But the way the relative of Colonel Manpreet was telling that the civil administration has not come, that's unfortunate. I suppose if they have not come, they must take action now. As far as Colonel Manpreet is concerned, he is considered as an operations specialist. You see, he was a 2IC of 19 RR, and he got a Sena medal as a 2IC. Then he was promoted as a full colonel, and then he took over the same unit. Normally a person could have been sent to other place, but he was such a person that he was so dedicated and motivated. He wanted to command the troops in a counter-terrorism operation only. So he volunteered to do it. So that should be understood by anyone and everyone. Jazba jo hai, वो काबिल तारीफ है करना मनप्रीत का. One, he led from front. Second thing is, in spite of staying for too long, he could have easily gone to some other unit in peace station. He was a 2IC for long here. But he chose to be a commanding officer of an outfit which is totally involved in counter-terrorism operation. We salute this brave heart. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
And such people, make the country proud. And that is what lesson we must learn it. I just want to tell my viewers, the youngster who sees it must see that pride in us. And we must be proud of it. And the civil administration, my request is kindly take on. You cannot leave like this. He is a brave heart. He doesn't belong to one Indian army.
Right.
He belongs to the nation. We should be proud of it.
Major General, let's hope that good sense prevails and the administration is, quick to respond and swift on their feet and make up in this particular situation. But Mr. Azad, the political realm, that has also playing a part in, Kashmir. I mean, we're looking at this trouble between, the borders because of the politics that happened, way back in the day, the partition and the politics that has surmounted after the partition. Even today, Article 370 hearings, marathon hearings are being held in the Supreme Court, the apex body. Now, take a look at what's happening here. Mohali mein prashashan se koi nahi aaya. On the other hand, over there, Farooq Abdullah made his way to Mr. Bhatt's residence to pay tribute to the fallen, policeman. From the political realm, what is it that the politicians can do, away from, of course, political mileage and dirty politics? What role can the politicians play in this particular case when we're looking at South Kashmir and how, Pakistan is again deploying its very old tactics?
Excellent question, Kabir. I have always felt that on matters of national importance and security issues, I think the opposition and the ruling party should be one. Discordant voices like somebody coming up and saying now, at this stage, you must have heard of having talks with Pakistan is something, ridiculous. I mean, what does it mean for the last 20 to 30 years, whether from Clinton's visit in 99, 2000, when I was the National Security Coordinator, the Chitta Singhpura incident, and you take it back any period, it has never made any difference. I think there should be one voice that there should not be any talks with Pakistan till this terror count is completely finished. Number two, there are people who dream and have romantic visions about cricket matches. Let me tell you, in 2004, I led a Government of India team to Pakistan, visited Pakistan 7-8 times to see whether the conditions are ideal for a cricket match. And later I took the cricket team also. But is there any need to have these cricket matches just to romance the old period of whatever the grade? Who cares? Who's bothered? In fact, in Asia Cup, we should have withdrawn. Even if we have to leave the cup, it doesn't matter. In multilateral, it might be a little bit. Therefore, it is very important to have one political voice as far as Kashmir is concerned. There are various issues. People are saying that there should be more talks. Yes, but then the talks outline, the talk should also be drawn up. Who should we talk to? What should we talk about? What are the issues that we need to talk? So these are things. First, there has to be an internal situation which has to be built up. It has to be law and order. It has to be development. And then only we can talk about talks anywhere. Therefore, I'm totally against any kind of procrastination or any kind of a discordant view. People are talking about, having another route to P and K. Yes, there should be trade. Yes, there should be other things. But you cannot do it in this atmosphere. And for that, all the political voices should be one on that count.
Absolutely. That was very eloquently put, Mr. Azad. Major General, I'm going to give you the last word even as we wrap up this, riveting conversation. The encounter is still, underway in the, higher reaches of Kokarnag. But at the same time, Major General, what can we expect in the days to come? We know that there are challenges. We know that we will overcome these challenges in due time, of course. We know the larger message that is being put across for the youngsters, that is of pride and, of course, lamenting at the same time simultaneously. We're also looking at how these, fallen Bravehearts of ours, how they're being put to rest. We're getting visuals of that as well. It is a cathartic circle in terms of how a story is being done, in terms of how a journalist approaches a story. But what next? What next? That is the bigger question. What next for this encounter? What are you picking up from your particular sources, sir? How are you looking at the developments that are coming out of Kokarnag? This another soldier being injured or succumbing to their injuries. That is one aspect that we can look at. Over to you.
See, one thing is, Kabir, the terrorists which are inside this cordon, they may be 3 to 4. They have been already boxed in. I'm sure in time to come, they will be eliminated. Security forces are not hurrying up the issue because, see, the initiative is with the terrorists. With the aim of finishing the operation fast, you can have more casualty. So you should go deliberately as per the teaching. And I'm sure these terrorists which have been now boxed in by the cordon, they will be neutralized by evening today. That's my take. Now, as far as challenge is concerned, it is going to be a big challenge now. The thing is that the Pakistan has activated the terrorism in POJK. The terrorists which are sitting, they will try to send them inside India, if not through the LC fence or through Kashmir Valley, maybe from other parts of Jammu, or they can even make use of Nepal as well as Bangladesh. We have to be very alert. Now, as far as higher reaches are concerned, this winter is going to be very strong. What is happening is, before the winter set in, they will try to pump in more terrorists. And as the counter-terrorism operation has to be now reactivated, it looks to me that in another 3 to 4 months, you must now have a more operation with a real-time intelligence. You see, we are always going on a real-time intelligence, but sometimes you are crossed. That may have happened. I'm just saying we are not very sure. But Indian Army, Indian security forces are very professional. They understand we are the one country. Our human rights track record is very good. We have curtailed terrorism to an extent. There are only 60 to 70 terrorists which are left. But whosoever is left, you have to completely wipe them off. At the same time, the model which is of the development must carry on. Today, if someone visit Jammu and Kashmir Valley, it find a development. People are very happy. The peace is prevailing. You find employment is being generated. The colleges come. That must carry on. At the same time, go for a specific int-based operation against these terrorists which are on the higher reaches. That is a requirement of the day. And third thing is, also ensure those terrorist camps which are across line of control, they must be targeted. If there is a requirement of abrogating this ceasefire with the Pakistan on the LC, so it be. But they must be put on defensive, because as on today, the Pakistan is weakest. But once Pakistan is even weakest, they will try to find some problem within the country. They know they are losing POJK, they are losing Gilgit-Baltistan. People are not with them. People want to join India, and the people in Jammu and Kashmir Valley know their fate is with India. They are now feeling proud to be Indian. You remember what is the environment in Srinagar now? Lal Chowk and all, we never could imagine. Today is so peaceful. There are all people praising about the nation. So I suppose this was an aberration, this operation taken place, but certainly it should be culminated in a professional manner without further losing the casualty. And I'm sure by evening, these 4 terrorists or 3 to 4 terrorists which have been boxed in will be neutralized.
Absolutely. We're constantly getting visuals from Panipat where our Braveheart is being laid to rest. Well, the guns bowing down, the guard over there in Salam-e-Shastra. Mr. Azad, I also wanted your opinion on an anthropological viewpoint on the anger that is spreading. It seems like even as the anger is spreading, the entire country is uniting against Pakistan. There are various protests that are taking place. One took shape yesterday in Haryana. Another one that I'm looking at, BYJM workers held a protest and raised slogans against Pakistan in Jammu over the death of, our soldiers. Also, at the same time, there was a candle lighting ceremony and various hashtags that are put on big flexi boards, and hashtags that read "Voice Against Terrorism," "Stop Killing Kashmiris," "Kashmir Badal Raha Hai," hashtag "Tiranga for Kashmir," hashtag "Aao Kashmir." I mean, all of this is being done on the social media realm as well. Your viewpoint on the entire country, especially the common citizens, the Aam Janta, coming together, uniting against Pakistan on this one. And that, that unanimous voice that you were talking about, sir, I think वो एक सूरत में तब्दील होता जा रहा है.
Yes, I think it's because of the rising public anger that the politicians are also being forced to speak in that voice. You're absolutely right. And this will come. This will come more and more because, when you see your bravest officers and men losing lives because of terrorism, it is something which is not acceptable at all. And that is why people are saying that we don't want to have anything to do with Pakistan for the time being. And in fact, if you look ahead at this situation, there seems to be no understanding on the part of Pakistan because again and again you have seen, whether it's the UN or any other platform, any other multilateral platform, this issue has been raised about Kashmir, which is absolutely laughable because in POK, there are movements against Pakistan government or trying to, destabilize POK in a way by putting in their own the population. And in fact, the POK people are talking about democracy in Kashmir. It's a joke now that in Kashmir, where you have regular elections, and now with the G20 coming in and the tourists coming in, it looks much more democratic even in some parts of India. So I think this build-up of anger is not a wrong thing at all. It unites the country, and as long as it forces the politician also to come one platform, I think it's a good thing. We should unite and fight against terrorism together.
Well, absolutely, because gentlemen, even as we're looking at this teary-eyed farewell for all the brave hearts, and we're hoping that the news is in fact false, but it seems like from all the wires that I'm looking at and the corroborated news that I'm getting on my handles as well, it seems like we in fact have lost another brave heart and another soldier has been injured. But like Mr. Azad said, this is something that we'll have to live with because this is not going to go away, and even as the war is nearing completion, it will never stop. We will have to continue to safeguard our borders as well. The bigger message that Major General is saying is that one shouldn't be disappointed or sad. We should rather be proud of what our encounter specialists and what our Jawans have done for us for the longest time. This was an ambush, maybe a recourse of going back to the whiteboard, re-strategizing, understanding what can be done in South Kashmir again, and understanding how the terrorists themselves have re-strategized their ways of attacking and targeting our Jawans. That is something that we'll look into, but our security forces in that joint operation, which is still underway, they will continue to persist and they will encircle and neutralize these two terrorists. That is something that can be guaranteed for sure. But even as we're giving this teary-eyed farewell to our Jawans, let's also hope for good sense to prevail and for a smiling and united Kashmir to come out of this as well, specifically the South Kashmir. Mr. Azad and Major General, many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs on this one. We're going to continue to bring you the latest details and updates from the encounter in the Kokernag's, dense foliage in Anantnag in South Kashmir. That's all the time we have for you. This is Kabir Naqvi signing off. Keep watching News 9 Live. Thanks for tuning in to News9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Without wasting any more time, Kashmir encounter on for the third day. Another soldier reportedly missing, and we're getting you more details right out of Cordoning in Anantnag in the south of Kashmir. But more importantly, that's not all we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the teary-eyed farewell that all the Breavhearts are getting at this point in time, even as we're learning about another soldier that is in fact battling for their life. Of course, corroborated information is something that you'll get here at News9. We don't want to jump the gun, ladies and gentlemen, but at the same time, sources are also telling us that this missing soldier might have succumbed to their injuries. Well, today's broadcast essentially begins on a solemn note because we're turning our attention to the ongoing intense situation that is unfolding in the heart of Kashmir. For the past harrowing 48 plus hours, the region has been gripped by a relentless firefight as our valiant security forces find themselves locked in a fierce battle with terrorists amidst the dense Cordoning forests. This heart-wrenching confrontation began in the early hours on Wednesday morning when the Indian Army, in a coordinated effort with the Jammu and Kashmir police, initiated a joint operation with the mission to neutralize the looming terrorist threat that lurked within these unforgiving woods and the treacherous topography of the area south of the Panjal. In the course of this intense engagement, 3 officers who exemplified unwavering bravery, and let me tell you, that is not an understatement, and dedication to their duty, tragically lost their lives. Among these gallant souls were 2 courageous individuals from the Indian Army, including Colonel Manpreet Singh, a recipient of the prestigious Sena Medal for the gallantry, who had been leading the search column, and Major Ashish Dhonchak, also a decorated recipient of the Sena Medal, serving as the company commander of the 19 Rashtriya Rifles. Additionally, the Jammu and Kashmir Police lost Deputy Superintendent Humayun Bhatt, who was the deputy superintendent in the line of duty. Now, these brave officers displayed unparalleled valor as they traversed through the challenging terrains of the forest, navigating through its rugged contours in the mission to secure the safety of the region's residents. But it was around noon when they came under a hail of heavy gunfire from the entrenched terrorists. In a swift and unwavering response, they valiantly retaliated, but not without sustaining grievous gunshot wounds during the fierce encounter. Now, as we pay tribute to these extraordinary souls who made the ultimate sacrifice, we find ourselves at a loss for words to express our gratitude and sorrow simultaneously. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their families during this time of unimaginable grief. The battle rages on, ladies and gentlemen. And as the security forces utilize advanced weaponry and cutting-edge technology, including strike-capable Heron drones in their intensified anti-terror operations, join us in the comment sections as today we delve into the harrowing details of this joint operation, the sacrifices made by our brave officers, and the prevailing situation in South Kashmir. Why is there an uptick in foreign terrorists? That is something that we're going to decode together. Let's honor the memory of Colonel Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish Dhonchak, and DSP Humayun Bhatt, even as we talk about the latest details coming out of South Kashmir and the problem of South Kashmir as well. Joining me here on the broadcast are Yashovardhan Azad, former Special Director, IB, and Major General Ashwini Sivach, Defense and Geopolitical Expert. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Gentlemen, do stay on with us because even as we're, talking about the South Kashmir problem and the encounter that is still continuing for, the third day now, let's quickly go across to Panipat, to Ashish Dhonchak's residence. Let's take a look at what's happening at the Major's residence. We're also learning that Ashish Dhonchak, he was about to go back home. October 23rd, he had made a promise to his parents to go back home for that housewarming. He had promised his mother as well. It's a brand new house, but a little glimpse for the viewers as well. And gentlemen, do watch on. Take a look at that.
जम्मू कश्मीर में आतंकी मुठभेड़ में शहीद हुए मेजर आशीष के पार्थिव शरीर को पानीपत में उनके सपनों के घर में लाया गया। जी हाँ, उनका परिवार ऐसे तो सेक्टर 7 में ही किराए के मकान में रहता था, लेकिन जिस घर में अक्टूबर में यानी अगले महीने आशीष अपने परिवार के साथ शिफ्ट होने वाले थे, उनके ख्वाबों का घर था। बड़ी शिद्दत से सपने संजोकर उन्होंने घर बनाया था। तो परिवार वालों ने उनकी शहादत के बाद भी जो उनकी इच्छा थी उसका ख्याल रखते हुए ये तस्वीरें मैं आपको दिखा रहा हूँ। ये पानीपत में TDI सिटी है। इसी टीडीआई सिटी में आप तस्वीरें देख सकते हैं कि घर के भीतर उनके पार्थिव शरीर को रखा गया है। घर के भीतर और बाहर बड़ी तादाद में लोग उनके अंतिम दर्शन के लिए पहुंचे हैं। परिवार के लिए बेहद दुख का माहौल है, गम का माहौल है, चूंकि इकलौते बेटे थे अपने परिवार के मेजर आशीष, 3 बहनों के इकलौते भाई थे, 3 साल की एक बेटी है और आप अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से परिवार पे दुखों का पहाड़ टूट पड़ा है। कहाँ तो परिवार इस तैयारी में जुटा था कि अक्टूबर में, चूंकि 23 तारीख को उनका बर्थडे होता है, 23 अक्टूबर को, तो उसी अपने जन्मदिन के मौके पे उन्हें आना था। उन्होंने वादा किया था अपने परिवार वालों से कि 23 अक्टूबर के करीब वो आएंगे और उसी दौरान ये जो आप घर देख रहे हैं जिसे मेजर आशीष ने एक बनवाया था, इसी घर में परिवार को गृह प्रवेश की पूजा होनी थी, उनका जन्मदिन मनाया जाना था और इसी घर में परिवार को शिफ्ट होना था। लेकिन उससे पहले ही वो शहीद हो चुके हैं।
That abrupt interruption, of course, we will cut across to that live summit in Karnataka, where the Karnataka summit, the federal play, what News9 is bringing to all its viewers. But coming back to the topic at hand, the Kashmir encounter in Anantnag. I'm going to quickly go across to Mr. Azad, who's with us on the broadcast. Mr. Azad, you saw, how the reporter was talking about unke sapno ka ghar tha. He was living in a rented accommodation for the longest time. And that's not the case just with Major, Dhonchak. It's the same is the case with Colonel Manpreet Singh. He had called up his mother. The last conversation with his mother is where the mother is asking him, "Beta, tu kab wapas aayega?" And the soldier responds by saying, "Ma, tu aaram kar, main aa raha hu." And whilst he is valiantly fighting on the border front. Before we talk about the South Kashmir angle, before we talk about what's happening in the south of Pir Panjal, and Major General Sivach also with us can tell us about the alleged intelligence failure that people are now talking about in the media realm as well. We'll throw light on all those topics, but Mr. Azad, first and foremost, it's not easy to lose a soldier, and I've been saying it time and again that the family members are equally brave in this case. लेकिन किसी को भी ढंग से रोने का भी मौका नहीं मिलता. Lamenting and grieving in itself becomes so harrowing as a process. What's going on inside your mind whilst we're showcasing visuals from Panipat, from what's happening in Mohali, where all the mortal remains are now going back? We saw how the former DIG of Jammu and Kashmir Police, G.H. Bhatt, he laid to rest his own son, who's the deputy superintendent. What's going on inside your mind? How should the public consume this information? Because I can understand everybody's so angry.
You've described it very well. There are no words to describe the exceptional valor of these commanders who led from the front. One's blood boils at this kind of pain which has been inflicted. And I have been witness to when the fallen soldiers come home, the martyrs, who have shown exceptional fighting at the front and have seen the kind of pain, the kind of heartbreaking which is there in the families. And in fact, you're so right. There are no tears even, that they are shell-shocked to have somebody at your prime of your youth to be cut down in your 40s or your 30s by a militant's bullet, by a murderer's bullet, is something which is very, very difficult to bear. I totally understand. And these parts of Panipat and these areas where they almost cultivate heroes, who go in the army and come back martyrs, is something which is very, very difficult to bear. I only hope that we give it back in the same coin that we've got, because losing 3 of such officers, they could have waited out. They need not have gone right in the front. But that's why the Indian Army loses more officers, because it's exceptionally, they are led by some such brave men, whether it's Kargil,